Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of this newsletter is going to be dating, sexual confidence, and being present. Well, I've got 3 emails that I'm going to go through with you today. And one of them, the guy's dealing with, he's having a hard time keeping his heart on, basically, because he gets stuck in his head thinking about worrying about whether or not he's going to be able to perform. And so what I'm going to go through in these 3 different videos is how important it is to stay present in the moment. Because like when you get out in your head, whether you're on a date, you're trying to have sex with a girl, fear only exists in the mind, like you probably heard me say more than once. And the reason I repeat things over and over is repetition is the mother of skill. And I'm teaching things that are fundamental baseline knowledge that you need to know, and showing how it relates into real world situations that other guys just like you, and girls obviously, are getting into situations with themselves and where they're struggling and where they're facing their challenges. In each of these 3 situations, the guys are getting into their head, worrying about what they're going to say next, worrying about what they're going to do next, wondering whether or not they're going to get laid, whether or not things are going to work out for them. And it totally takes them out of the present moment. And and the woman can tell that you're not there. It's like you're somewhere else. And at the end of the day, the only moment that exists is right now. To my knowledge, none of us have a time machine that we can go into the future and see how things are going to turn out. We can't go into the past and change our past mistakes. So the only moment that exists is right now. So let me read this quote that I wrote before we get into the first guy's email. It says, "In life, it's always best to focus your intentions on staying in and living in the present moment. After all, the only moment that exists is right now. When we get into our heads and start thinking about the future and what may or may not happen, we engage in a mental mind fuck that causes us to say and do things out of fear instead of letting things happen and simply enjoying them for the gifts that they are. When we get into our heads and worry about the future and what could go wrong, we actually create a vibration that makes what we fear happen. This can lead to dates that were going well, going sideways, creeping the other person out, inability to perform sexually, and unnecessary rejection." So let's get in the first guy's email. He says, "Hey coach, I've been trying to hook up with this girl. We went out twice now. However, she says she's very busy right now with schoolwork and can't really date the upcoming month. Her schedule is clear at the end of November." Wow, she's really putting you off for like a whole month basically. He says, "I understand her level of attraction is not that high, otherwise she'd be wanting to see me even if she's busy." Definitely a true statement. That communicates that you're really not a huge priority on her list of priorities. When she contacts me, which is about 3 to 5 times a week, I ask her to hook up and I stay off the phone. However, she keeps replying to me, "You know I'm busy, we'll do it when I'm free." And that's why I don't know if you're reaching out to this girl and trying to contact her, but at this point when she says I'm not available till after Thanksgiving, in essence is what she's telling you, then what I would do, you shouldn't be contacting or calling her at all, except obviously when you're responding to her text. And what you should do is just simply say, "Hey, great to hear from you. Things are going great. Glad to hear things are going well for you. I look forward to meeting up with you after the holidays or after November when you're free. Can't chat right now, gotta run." And that in essence is how you want to respond to her. You're not going to put a lot of energy in sending 3 or 4 texts back and forth because you want to see her and she's, "Oh, I'm busy." But at the end of the day, if you were in a relationship with this girl, she'd make time for you. She'd want to see you, even if it's just you coming over and her making you dinner. But you've gone out with this girl twice and now all of a sudden she can't see you for a month. You definitely, I would say, you hit the nail on the head, and you're noticing that if she really was that into you, she'd make time for you. He says, "How do you proceed when you know you have to wait, but she's texting you? Do you keep asking her out? It feels like I'm playing this deaf guy." Yeah, I would stop asking her out and then just refer to the fact that you're going to see her in November. That happens sometimes. I've got a girl that I'm chatting with that I actually met through the Tinder app, who actually lives down where I used to live, and so we're going to get together during Thanksgiving. And so I'm not texting her, I'm not doing nothing, but it's like every 8 or 10 days or so, she'll send me some kind of message then I'll respond back to her and I'll reiterate, hey, look forward to meeting up with you and having a drink. And that's all you can do with those kinds of situations. But it's like, obviously, if you keep asking her out and you know she's unavailable till November, that's why you don't bring anything up. And this other particular girl just recently let me know, oh, hey, I have an aunt that lives in Orlando. So it's like, those are things obviously are going through her mind. Maybe she's going to come up and visit. Maybe I'll end up seeing her before November. I'm not bringing it up or anything. I just was like, oh, that's really cool. Another reason to look forward to coming to Orlando or coming to visit Orlando. Or now you have 2 reasons to come and visit Orlando. It's something simple like that, is how you respond. But it's like, you're in action, not doing anything is what makes you attractive. Because if you just keep referring, oh yeah, it'll be great when we get together after, at the end of November when you're free, it's great to hear from you, things of that nature, and you stop trying to ask her out to do something because obviously you know that she can't get together. But if things change on her end, she'll bring it up. If her attraction level starts to creep up and she decides she doesn't want to wait till November, she'll mysteriously find time in her schedule. He says, and should I be replying back to her at all? I've been replying somewhat slow to her text. So that's what you do. You don't just ignore a woman. You just take your time getting back to her. Because, again, it's a scientific fact that women are more attracted to men whose feelings are unclear. And if she's reaching out to you but constantly telling you that she's busy, and then you just stop asking her to do things and refer to the fact, hey, I look forward to seeing you at the end of November, that communicates that you're patient. You're totally cool with whatever happens. You're not worried about what may or may not happen, whether or not you're going to get together. I mean, this particular girl lives down in South Florida. I may end up getting together with her. I may not. I have a take it or leave it, very matter-of-fact kind of attitude. It's like fucking flip a coin. If I'm down there and she's available in the days that I'm available to meet up with her, great. I'd love to meet up with her. If not, so what? You got to get to that place where you have that take it or leave it kind of attitude. He says, by not replying at all, I feel like a dick. Plus, I think once you said that you should ignore women. That is correct. You don't ignore her. Just take your time getting back with her. Maybe get back to her the next morning. Especially like if she texts you like 8 o'clock or later, you should be on a date. Or let her assume or you're out doing something. And then you get back to her the next day around 11 or 12. Hey, got your text last night. Sorry, I was out with a friend. Great to hear from you. Definitely look forward to meeting up with you at the end of November. Have a great week. And say it just like that. You don't really give her anywhere to go with the conversation. He says, but I also didn't want to have a texting relationship. Well, it's good that you're obviously being aware, but in this particular case, it's kind of stupid and counterproductive to keep asking her out when you know she's not going to be available till the end of November. He says, anyhow, in the meantime, I'm dating this other lady and having a good time, and I'm not chasing this other girl or anything. Well, for the most part, you're doing everything right. It's just like I said, I would reply to the text in the way that I discussed. So let's get into the second email. This guy says, hey, Coach, my girlfriend's 29, and so am I. We've been dating for about 6 months now, and I went on holiday in July without her since it was a trip I had already planned before we met. My holiday lasted for 5 weeks. Long fucking vacation, dude. Must be nice. Anyway, everything has been going great in general. She touches me a lot and sends me the I miss you text. However, she still tests me from time to time, and I usually just remain my calm, funny self, and I simply laugh her tests off and always remain centered. Well, that's obviously the appropriate response, is not to let anything she does diminish you or take you out of the present moment. The key is to you just have a non-attached outcome. You're not worried about what may or may not happen in the future, and you're not dwelling on what did or didn't happen in the past. You're just responding to how she shows up in the moment. Our sex life is not that great, and I'm 100% certain this is what causes her to sometimes be a little bitchy. Women get bitchy when they sense weakness in their men. That's the bottom line. So it may have to do with the fact that you're not fulfilling her sexually, but usually it's a direct result of you expressing or acting in a way that is weak. And when you act weak in a way, obviously, when you're doubting the future, you're fearful of the future, or when you're not focusing on your purpose and your mission and doing the things that you need to do. Just simple things like you go to dinner and you're like, What do you want to do? Do you want to wait here? Or do you want to go somewhere else? Women don't want to make the decision. They want you to come back and say, hey, the wait's 15 minutes. Let's get a drink at the bar. Let's go have a cup of coffee outside while we're waiting for our table. That's what they want you to say. They don't want you to come back with a decision going, gee, what do you want to do? Do you want to stay here or we can go somewhere else? It's like my dad does that all the fucking time. I'm like, and I always say to him, I was like, Dad, make a fucking decision already. It's like, don't do that shit when you go out on your dates. He says, we've had proper sex a good few times only, but most of the time it's just lots of kissing, getting naked, and lots of foreplay. She works many hours as a doctor in the emergency room, and I run an engineering business with my brother and dad. So I work a lot of hours too, and our opportunities for sex to happen are 2 or so times a week, if that. There's been a number of times I've failed to keep my erection for long enough to get inside of her. Well, obviously, it sounds like you're definitely having some performance anxiety. There's nothing wrong with me physically. I've seen doctors and it all checked out. Usually, she will use her hand to get me hard while I use mine to get her wet. Have her give you a blowjob, dude. You see, the problem is that you're worried about performing, and so you have this fear of the future, fear of things working out. And what you really need to do is get in touch with your body. Focus, close your eyes, and just focus on what you're feeling. Focus on the sensations that you're getting from her. If she's not very good at giving you a hand job, and you're obviously not using any kind of lubricant, she's not using her mouth to keep you lubed up, just lay there and just feel the sensation. Enjoy. It's the same thing. That if you want to last a long time when you're having sex with a girl, you got to stop trying to blow your wad. Stop trying to get hard and just lay there. Because really, the blood vessels opening up is a direct result of you relaxing and not thinking about anything other than focusing on how wonderful the sensations feel of having sex with your girl. He says, however, I don't think she puts enough effort into keeping me hard, and as soon as I notice a slight disappointment on her face, my fear of going even softer overwhelms me, and suddenly it's all over. Yeah, obviously what it sounds like, because when you don't get hard with a woman, she takes it as a rejection. I've had that, I remember years ago, about 10 years ago, about 7, 8 years ago, I should say, I had a girlfriend, and I was going through a stressful time in my life. I was making a transition out of what I was doing into something new. And so I had a lot of uncertainty, and there were just times where I just wasn't feeling like having sex. And she'd go down, and she's great giving a blowjob. She'd give me a great blowjob, get really hard, but it's like she'd get on top. It's like because she wasn't really comfortable in her body, she didn't feel comfortable moving and like really fucking me like a lot of other girlfriends I had in the past when they get on top and they ride you like a fucking wild stallion. She was just kind of timid and kind of shy, and I had a hard time staying hard when she was on top of me that way, and I would try to coach her and get her to move a certain way, but just because she wasn't comfortable in her body, it felt awkward for her, she didn't do it. And it's like as soon as I started to go a little limp, she would take it as a personal rejection, because when you lose your erection when you're with a woman, they feel rejected. They feel like you don't find them beautiful, and no amount of telling them is going to comfort them. It's like you got to show them. And you got to direct her what to do. And sometimes she'd get frustrated and get off me and go in the bathroom, take a shower or whatever. And that would kind of piss me off, because it's like she'd just give up and walk away because she felt rejected. And she'd walk away a little butthurt over it. But sometimes those things are happen. But the key is just to lay there and be comfortable with it. And it's like finally I was able to coach her over time and just tell her just not to give up. Just lay there and let's just enjoy it. Maybe it takes us an hour or 2 hours to have sex. It's like, what a wonderful thing. So what? Instead of like, get into wham bam, thank you ma'am. He says, that's when I would usually go down on her and finish with her being at least somewhat happy. I can't help but feel, though, this part of our relationship is very subpar and needs work. That's why you need to just lay there and caress each other. Maybe you lay in bed for a couple of hours and just enjoy each other. Get some oil, and like put some towels down in the bed, get some body massage oil, maybe light some candles, and give her like a 45-minute massage. Let her give you a 45-minute massage. And let her play with you and get you hard and just lay there. And it's like, you have to get to the point where you can take it or leave it kind of attitude, where you just totally let go and stop trying to make something happen. You just enjoy the sensations of her hands and her body and her mouth all over your body, and how wonderful that feels. And when you get in that moment and you just enjoy it and you're not worried about having to perform or come to some kind of a conclusion, that's when you'll stay really rock hard, where your dick will be so hard you cut diamonds with it. He says, the last time we had sex with me coming at least twice was about 2 or so weeks ago when she stayed over. Yeah, because in your mind, you knew she's going to stay there. She's not going anywhere. You're not like, well, I got 45 minutes to perform, and then she's got to leave. And you can see that's what happens when you totally relax and get into it. It lets the blood vessels open and lets nature do its thing. He says, it happened in the morning, and then the night before that, we had a talk about how I'm stuck in a mental cycle of not making it happen. She was much happier after we talked, and I told her it will work out fine, and I'd made sure that it will. So fast forward to today, I'm certain she's not really doing enough to keep me hard. Well, it's not so much her responsibility, it's your responsibility as a man to be the leader during the sexual experience. And if she's being impatient with you and she's getting frustrated with you, then that's going to put pressure on you to perform. You got to let her know that. You got to let her know it's just like, hey, let's get some body oil out and just massage each other and enjoy it. So what? Maybe give each other a 45-minute massage, and then she gives you a 45-minute massage. And then that way you don't feel any kind of time pressure or time restraints on performing in the future. I basically go hard while she's playing down there, but then she will stop touching there for a good 30-40 seconds. I'm no longer good to go, and she notices this, so fear overwhelms me again. Well, I did a video a while back called How Men Can Have Multiple Orgasms. And that technique definitely works. So if I were you, I would get in touch with your body and learn that technique that I teach in there, how you can get to the point where even when you blow your wad, you still stay hard. Because you need to obviously practice on your own. Practice keeping yourself hard. Practice the sensations. Practice letting go. And I discussed that at length in that video. There's a specific time duration you need to do it when you're masturbating yourself, about 30 minutes or so. And when you do that and your body gets used to being hard for that period of time, you'll be good to go and you won't have any more performance anxiety or any problems like that. So that's what I would do if I were you. So let's get into the third and final email. This guy says, hey coach, I've read your book once and I watched a number of your videos, but I'm still very much in training. I bought the Kindle version of your book and I'm starting to read it for the second time now. I'm in my early 40s and recently divorced with kids. I met a girl online and she wanted to meet right away. She didn't seem to want to chat a whole lot or text, so I made the effort not to pursue these activities, but just to get a date scheduled ASAP. Exactly. When a woman likes you, she's ready to get right to the point. Hang out, have fun, hook up. And that's what it's in person. It's the same thing. And you got to kind of think about, like when you're dating, you got to think about it like in terms of business. And like on my website and on my email list and my Facebook and my YouTube channel, I mean, I literally have tens of thousands of people that follow me and interact with my website. But it's not every single one of them are sending me donations. Not every single one of them is buying my book. Not every single one of them is booking a phone session. That's a small portion of those are usually the ones making the donations or buying the book or referring their friends or booking the phone sessions or booking email coaching with me. And like in business, you think about it. It's like every single person that walks into a store is not going to buy everything. Right? They might walk in there and not find what they're looking for, and they leave. And you go to a mall, look at all the women that go in and out of stores, and they just kind of window shop. It's not until they find something they really like that they buy it. And it's the same thing when it comes to dating. Every woman that you interact with, they're not all going to like you. And every woman that you interact with, after you talk for a while or a few minutes or so, you're not going to like her. You might not like the way she talks. Maybe she sounds like an airhead. Maybe she doesn't have much of a personality. Maybe she's not really trying to keep the conversation going. The idea is you got to look at it as like 1 out of every 100 women that you talk to, you'll go out with and you'll have a real great date. But you're not going to ask out all 100 of the women that you start talking to, especially when you get good at this stuff, because as soon as you start talking to them, you realize, she doesn't sound that intelligent, she doesn't have much of a personality, she's not smiling a lot. It's like you get pickier the better you get at these things, because the idea is that it's just like women going in and shopping in the mall. They don't come out with 50 bags when they went into 50 different stores. They might come out with a handful of bags, or they may go to like 15, 20 different shops and not buy anything. And it's the same way of dating. So you got to have a non-attached way that you look at dating, and just look at dating as a process. It's a process of elimination. It's a process of interacting with enough women consistently over time. It's the same thing with online dating, whether it's Match.com or you're using the Tinder app. Not every single woman that you connect with on chat, or that likes your pictures on Match, or that winks at you, or that sends you an email, you're actually going to be able to date. Some women, it's like, because you're never really going to know the other person's motivation, or where they're at, or how many other guys are in their life, or what stage they're at. But what you want, it's just like in the sales business, you want a ready, willing, and able buyer. That means they're ready to pull the trigger right now, today. It's just like a car dealership. Not every single person that walks into a car dealership is actually ready to buy a car. Maybe that's where the term tire kicker comes from. That means people, they're just there to look. They're not really serious buyers. Maybe they're not ready. Maybe they're just not at a point where their lease is up on their car or their car payment, and they're just going to check out the new model because it's something to do. They're window shopping. And so that's why the salespeople, when they ask specific questions, they're not just asking questions for the hell of chatting with you. They're trying to find out whether or not you're a ready, willing, and able buyer, because there's more people looking at cars at a car dealership than there are salesmen. And there's a reason for that, because only a small percentage of those people that come to the car dealership are actually really serious buyers, or really seriously looking to buy. If you take that same approach and you don't get attached or butthurt when a woman doesn't respond to you in a specific way, she doesn't buy what you're selling, which obviously is you, that's okay. You want a ready, willing, and able buyer. You want a woman who's enthusiastically ready to make a date. And obviously, like in this particular case with this guy, he scheduled a date with her right away. Why? Because she obviously liked his pictures. She knew what she wanted. She's ready to make something happen. So she's eager to set a date. It's the same thing like on Tinder. I see the same thing, or on Match, or in person. It's like they're not all going to be doing backflips to go out on a date with you. Even if you connect with them, even if they send you an email, or they wink at your photos, or they mutually like your pictures. It's like, because like some women, I'll get to the point where I'm trying to make a date, and then they just stop responding, and that's just the way it is. Obviously, maybe they weren't really that serious, and that's what you want to know. You want to spend your time with women who really like you, who have a high level of attraction for you. And notice that when a woman is not responding in a positive way, that you're just wasting your time, and then you can move on to the next ready, willing, and able buyer. Because that's all you need, is one really great girl to have a great relationship with. That's why I say a lot. Circulation is the key to the universe. It's the key to having a healthy body, and it's the key to finding what it is that you really want by continuing to circulate. Because you never know when that magic is going to happen. He says, when we set the date, she acted like she wanted confirmation that I'd be there, and I told her if I said I'd be there, which I was, and so was she. Surprise of surprises, she wasn't hiding anything about her appearance and was very attractive in person. It's nice when that happens. That's why I prefer to meet women in person, because like you meet people online or through Tinder app, they might not always look as good in person as they do in their pictures. But obviously when you meet somebody in person, you're seeing the goods right then and there in the spot. You know whether or not they meet what you're looking for. He says the date wasn't extravagant, just dinner and conversation. That's why it's important to perceive yourself as a catch when you're on a date. You don't have to do something extravagant. You don't have to spend a ton of money on her. You're there because you find her attractive and she finds you attractive. And if there's chemistry, it's naturally going to happen. And the chemistry will happen when you stay in the present moment, when you stay focused on getting to know her and asking questions and leading the conversation and being fascinated by what she's telling you. Because obviously you met her and she looked even better in person than you thought she would. So that's going to cause you to be more enthusiastic. And when you're more enthusiastic about a girl, it's a lot easier to be with her. When she's enthusiastic about you, that's when chemistry naturally happens. It's mutual attraction, mutual enthusiasm. You're not there to try to convince her to like you or to prove yourself to her. It just happens naturally. And that's why it's important to not take things personally, because sometimes you're not going to have chemistry with a girl. Sometimes you're going to meet a girl, she's going to look good in person, she's going to look better in person, and you start talking, and you're going to really like her, and you're going to tell that she's just not that into you. And that just happens that way. Don't take it personally, because if you get butthurt about it, then you start thinking, oh, I'm never going to find anybody. It's never going to work out for me. And then you get stuck in your head and you fear the future, and you go around all bummed about that, and then you see a cute girl at the checkout counter at the grocery store, and because you're in a shitty mood and you just think you're fearing the future at that point, you don't ask her out on a date. And then after you walk out, you realize, that girl was kind of into me. Because you're in a shitty mood, a shitty vibe, you ruined a good opportunity there. You didn't take advantage of a good opportunity. It's all about being present in the present moment. He says, I'm guessing that she did 60% of the talking, which means I talked a little too much, but she laughed a lot and seemed to enjoy herself. I didn't see any obvious indicators of interest, but I watched my body language and just tried to hang back and not act like a drooling idiot. That's good. You're being aware of yourself. You're hanging back, which communicates confident posture. Because confident, relaxed, peaceful posture where you're sitting back in your chair, that's how James Bond would be. He's thinking from the end. He's like, of course this is going to work out. Of course she's going to like me. Of course she's going to want to sleep with me. Because this is what always happens. It's the best place to be. Even though it's not always going to work out that way for you, that's a place you need to come from. Because otherwise, you're in a fear of the future. And fear of the future will tend to make you lean forward in your chair. And tend to make you want to lean across the table like you're trying to touch her. Instead, let her lean across the table. And when she leans across the table, maybe you can put your arms on the table so you're close enough to the point where she can reach out and touch you. And the best way to sit, like when you're sitting at dinner, is to have her like right next to you instead of across the table. That's not always going to be the case, but if you're like at a four-top, it's easy. Just have her to, let her sit down and then pick a seat right next to her on the left side or the right side, because that way you're really close and she can reach over and touch your arm and start initiating contact. He says, I asked her if she wanted to get a coffee afterwards before I had to take off for the evening, and she did. That's a good sign. It means she wanted to continue spending time with you. Women vote with their feet. If they're with you, it means they voted for you. He says, we spent about 30 minutes there talking and laughing the whole time, and I told her that I hated to go, but I had to leave. Always leaving wanting more. A couple of points. She said she thought the date was going well, and mentioned at the end that if I wanted to do it again, to give her a call. I said that would be nice. I realized later that I did not throw off a bunch of compliments, which was probably a good choice, even if it wasn't exactly intentional. Where's the kiss, bro? No kissy poo? It's like, come on, man. It's like you got to go for the kiss. That's the final close. What did you do, give her a hug? He says, so here I am. I know that I need to curtail any sort of neediness, and I know I shouldn't call her immediately and try to set up a date or message her on the site. That's why you go for the kiss. You're walking her to her car or whatever, or you're parting ways at the train station or the bus stop, whatever it happens to be if you live in a busy city. Go for the kiss, because if she kisses you back, then you definitely know 100% certain she's definitely physically attracted to you. If she gives you the cheek, then you know not to waste your time. He says, I know that I need to continue my efforts to pursue other women. Is it advisable to avoid any sort of I had a nice time message or call her at all for at least a week? Well, if you went out on a Tuesday, you're going to call her on a Monday or Tuesday of the following week, once a week. Follow what I teach in the book. But it sounds like you already made one mistake by not trying to kiss her, and that's why you're kind of confused about where you really stand with this girl. Because you think there's signs are there that she's interested in you, but you're not really sure. And see, if you'd have kissed her, then you know she's definitely worth your time to go out on a second date, because most women tend to sleep with a guy by the second or third date. I know in my heart that you can't lose what you do not have, but when you have fun, you have a fun time, the desire to do it again is powerful. What should my next move be? Again, call her the next week, invite her out for another date, and this time you go on a date, fucking go for the kiss, because otherwise she's going to start to think you're gay or you lack confidence, and that's not helping you get what you want. So if you'd like to get my help personally, the quickest way is to book a paid phone session. You can do that by going to my website, click the products tab at the top of your screen, and follow the instructions. And I will talk to you soon.